Good evening and welcome to True Dugman Encounters. I'm your host, Marvin Allen. If you or anybody that you've known have had a sighting or encounter and would like for me to share it, then please contact me. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Like, comment, and subscribe. I would like to thank everyone because we have reached 2,000 members on our Facebook page. And I am so happy. Like I said, though, I'm going to be putting up these encounters every week and trying to put up another encounter with a different cryptid. But our focus will always be Dugman. It would always be that. So you don't have to worry about that. But I know y'all want to hear from other cryptids too, and encounters and stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to do. Like I told y'all before, I'm getting ready to start my lives up again. I got some good eyewitnesses lined up. I mean, really good eyewitnesses. And we ain't going to just focus on Doug, man, Bigfoot, Goatman, and all those other cryptids. We're going to cover the whole board. We're going to cover everything in one segment. Aliens, ghost spirit. We're covering it all. Giants. We're covering it all. Point blank. And another thing. If y'all know anybody that had a sighting, or if y'all had one and would like for me to narrate it on my channel, then please contact me on Messenger. Thank you. Um, Tonight I'm gonna try to push it longer and give y'all, a few encounters and try to go to an hour. I'm gonna try, but the ones I pick, hopefully it'll come out to an hour. And don't forget, don't forget to like and share our page to others and to groups so our channel can grow. As you know, anonymity means a lot, and I breaks that for no one. And without further ado, let's jump right in to this encounter. Now, this encounter right here, it happened on the East Coast. And it happened down south. My eyewitness was a guy who had just retired from his job. So now he said he had all the time in the world to do the things that he liked to do. He liked to, hunt, fish. He liked to do all those things. So by him retiring, he had a lot of times to do those things. Now, mind you, the area that my eyewitness live in is surrounded by nothing but woods. But just about a mile is the neighbor's house. That's how far apart him and his neighbor live. So my eyewitness said one weekend he gets up and he decides to go fishing. So he gets all his equipments together, go put them in the truck, and he rides down to this spot that he would always go to. So he parks, gets out, gets on this path, and he takes this path down to this lake. And when he get down there, he set up his reel and everything, put his cooler down and stuff like that. And he starts to fish. But as he's fishing, he noticed another guy about 20, 25 yards from him, he said, packing up, getting ready to leave. And he said the way that he was packing up, it's like he was in a hurry, like he was late for something. So after he finished packing his stuff up, he walks down there to where my eyewitness at. And he told my eyewitness, he said, "Be careful out here." My eyewitness said, why? He said, "I always come out here." He said, "Just be careful." He said, "I don't know what it is, but I seen something on the other side, inside the wood line behind this tree, peeking at me." And that's what my eyewitness said. "Do you know what it was?" He said, "No, I don't know what it was. But I know one thing. It growled at me. Like a dog would do. It growled at me." So they finished talking up and he left. My eyewitness stood there thinking about what the guy had just said. So he brushed it off and he continued to fish. So while he's fishing, he noticed something moving on the other side of the lake in the tree line, just up in the brush. He could see it moving, but he don't see nothing. So he looks. And after a few seconds, it stops. So he continued to fish. That's when he hear something hits the water. Bloop. And he looks. He still don't see nothing. He continued to fish. It happened a second time. Bloop. He looks. He still doesn't see nothing. So he puts his reel down and he walks towards the water and he looks on the other side. That's when he can see those brush moving again. But he don't see nothing. He goes back, pick up his rod, and continue to fish. Said after about 10 or 15 minutes, is when he hear crack, crack. He hears something like something is breaking a tree branch or a tree or a limb. And he looks over there. And when he looks over there, he looks to his left and he looks to his right. He scans that whole area, but he don't see nothing. Just when he was going back to finish fishing is when he hear footsteps. Boom, 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 boom. And he looks over there. And when he looks over there, he sees something just go behind the tree and his mouth drop. He said he started to think to himself, I know that's not a bear. He said, because that was too big to be standing up. I know that's not a bear. He said, because it's not bears in this part. So he continued to look over there. And as he continued to look over there, that's when he see this massive canine head peeks around the tree. And it looks right over there at him. And when it looks over there at him, he said this thing showed its teeth, his massive teeth. And he said it had so many in its mouth. After a few seconds, it's when this thing walked from behind the tree. And when it walked from behind the tree, it stood just behind this brush. And mind you, he said this creature was just massive. It was just cut up. He said you could see the muscle definition and everything. Pointed ears, long snout, massive shoulders. He said he never saw nothing like this in his life. He said that's when this creature began to walk towards the water, walking out through the brush in the tree line. Boom, 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 boom. And it stops when it gets to the beginning of the tree line. And when it stops, it looks over at him. And when it looks over at him, that's when it made this growl. This growl that shook him. My eyewitness said after this creature made this growl, it started to sniff the air. He said this creature was sniffing the air. And as it was sniffing the air, it stopped. And then it looked to its right. And when it looked to its right, that's when this creature ears, he said that it's like they twitched. It's like they moved and twitched on top of his head. So my eyewitness said he looked in that direction, but he didn't see anything. He said that's when this creature began to walk in that direction. And while it's walking in that direction, it stops. And then it drops down to all fours. And it continued to walks until it goes up into the tree line. Now, mind you, my eyewitness is still watching this creature. And as it's walking up in the tree line, he noticed it started to turn. It started to turn, and it started walking in his direction. It started coming around. That's what my eyewitness said. He grabbed all his stuff. I needed to get it together. And he started to walk back up that path. As he's walking, he's still looking back. Still walking, still looking back. When he looked back a third time, he said that's when this creature was on the side that he was on. Now, mind you, my eyewitness is licensed to carry. He did have a gun on him. So my eyewitness said when he reached the top of that path to get ready to go out, he still see that creature still walking. And then it cuts up. It cuts up in his direction. My eyewitness said he pulls out his gun and he aims it. He said when he aims it, that creature stopped. He said that creature stopped. Like he knew what my eyewitness had in his hand. He said it stopped. And then it walked behind a tree. My eyewitness kept his gun pointed in that direction of this creature until he got to his car. Put everything in there, got in, and then he left. He didn't go back. He didn't ask no questions, but he thought about what that man said when he first got there. And he said that's what that man saw. And that's the encounter right there. Hope y'all enjoy that. So, without further ado, let's jump right into this encounter. Now, this encounter right here comes from a lady, and I was so thrilled to talk to her and get her encounter. So she said she used to work the night shift, because that's the shift that they put her on. So she used to work the night shift. You work the night shift and then get off early in the morning. She said she started to notice strange things happening when she was at work. Now, I can't tell nobody where she work at because of her job. But she said strange things used to happen when she was at work. She would hear footsteps. She would hear howls. She would hear growls. And she said this would go on, you know, every day. She would go to work. So she said one day while she's at work, she decided to go to this store and grab her some snacks. So she said she went to one of those filling stations. They got a store there. Said she went to one of those. So she went in, she grabbed a few items, and then she came out. She got in a car. She sat in the car, and she said she started to think. She said she started to think about the howls, the howls, the growls and the knocks and the walks and all that stuff. She said she started to think about that because she said she don't know what it is. She said so as she's sitting there, she parked right there at this small patch of woods. And she parked where the back end is facing the woods. So she just sitting there. She said, so while she's sitting there, she hear, she hear a, a shove, a nudge on the back of her car. Like something pushed it. And she said, what the? So she looked behind her. She didn't see nothing. It did it again. It shoved the car. She said, what the? Come on now. She said she hit the lock on her door and she opened it. But when she opened it, she looked behind her. And when she looked behind her, she said she saw the biggest dog that you ever seen on all fours. She said, and when she saw that, boom, she slammed the door back and locked it. She said when she did that, this creature comes around on all fours and it stopped right there by her window. She said the head was so large and massive on this creature that it damn near took up the whole window. She said, why this thing just looking at her? It started to stand up, and it stood up on its hind legs. That's when it took his hands and tried to open the car door. But again, I locked them. It tried to open the door. Then it walked around to the other side. And that's when it tried to open that door. I'm still watching this creature, my eyewitness said. He said that's when the creature walked to the front. And it stood there. And it looked down in her window at her. Now, mind you, she at this store 4 in the morning. It's nobody out there. She said she don't see why nobody rolled up and seen this thing. She said so she's still watching this creature look down at her. She said that's when she hit the horn. Beep, beep. She said when it did that, she said that creature jumped. She said it jumped. And it curled this lips and his mouth nose up. Like it was mad. Like it startled him. And then she said this creature began to walk back around to the driver's side. When it walks around to the driver's side, it stops and it looks at her again. And when it look at her, this time, she said it's like this thing had a smirk on its face. Like it was happy. It was tormenting me. After it did that, she said this creature walked back in the wooded area and was gone. My witness said she waited there for about a half hour before she left because she ain't know if it was coming back. She said, but this creature had to be about 7.5 feet. A huge head, pointed ears, a long snout, massive shoulders. She said it had a mane that, went around and then over its shoulders. She said just like a lion's. She said, but it had canine legs. She said after a half hour, she went back to her job. Said she went in, she just sat there and couldn't wait till she get off. Now, that was her encounter, my witness. I hope y'all enjoy that. And let's get ready for the next one. Without further ado, let's jump right into this encounter. Now, this encounter right here, this one happened in North Carolina. I'm going to give y'all this one because I got to know the person and where it happened at. So he didn't mind if I said where it happened. This one happened in North Carolina. Now, my eyewitness said that he raised dogs ever since he was a little boy. So he used to get up, take them out, let them run around in the woods. He said that it was a spot that he would go to and sit and let his dog run around. He said one day, while down at this spot, he watching the dog run around. He noticed that his dog would stop and it would look straight up into the tree line. And at first, my eyewitness said he would just watch him. And he said that his dog would bark. And then it would, finish running around. So he's still watching his dog run around and playing stuff like that. And it would do it again. It would stop and it would look straight up into the tree line. And it would bark. But this time, that bark turned into something quiet. The sounds in the woods, you couldn't hear them no more. So my eyewitness Doug came over there where he was at. My eyewitness said he was rubbing him, saying, "It's okay, boy, it's okay. What's the matter? What you see?" He said, so while he's rubbing his Doug, he noticed something walking bipedal in the wood line. And he looks, but he don't see nothing at first. A few seconds would pass. He would hear it again. But this time, he said it sounded like it was running. And he looked, and he said he see a silhouette just dart behind a tree. So he's looking, but he don't see nothing. So he grabs his dog and he begins to walk in that direction. His dog will not move. It will not go. It start pampering and whimpering. And he kept pulling the leash it was on. But it still wouldn't do nothing. It just sat there. That's when my eyewitness said he let go of the leash a little bit because he was holding it tight, pulling him. He said, and his dog just took off. It took off running, left him, just went back home. Now my eyewitness said he's out there by himself. So we focused back on that tree. That's when my eyewitness said he see something on all fours walking, just walking from that tree, and it kept on walking down this little narrow path. And my eyewitness said to herself, that's a big Doug. My God. And he just looking at this thing. He said, but it was off. He said, because the upper part of this creature was massive and it tapered down to the buttocks area. So he watching this thing. He said, this creature was just walking straight out on this path. And as it was walking straight out on this path, it stopped. It stopped. It started to sniff. And that's when it turned its head and looked at him. That's when this creature started to walk in his direction. Now he watching this creature walk in his direction. He started to walk back up to leave out of these woods because he don't know what he up against. So he's walking and this creature's walking to behind him. So my eyewitness would stop, turn around, look back. The creature would stop. My witness said he continued to watch this thing. And then this thing did something that a dog shouldn't do. Stood up on his hind legs. My witness said, what the that's not a dog. That's something else. This is what my eyewitness is saying in his mind. This is what's going through his head. He's saying this is not a dog. This is something else. So my eyewitness picks up the pace and he's walking fast, but he can still hear this creature on his heels walking fast too. So my eyewitness said he gets right there at the beginning of the wood line just to leave out this path. And he turns around. And when he turns around, he said this creature couldn't have been no more than 20 feet behind him. And he watches it. He watches this creature. That's when this creature, it it reaches down and it picks up a stick. He said, what the? My eyewitness said this creature bends down and pick up a stick. He said, and when it picked up the stick, it raised it up. He said, and this creature just threw it. He said he never heard or thought he would see anything like this in his life. He said this creature threw the stick in his direction, but it didn't hit him. So my eyewitness leaves out the path. When he leaves out the path, the creature's still standing there. So he leaves out. He start calling his Doug. And while he calling his Doug, he sees his Doug comes from around the side of the car and runs over there to him. So my eyewitness, he rubbing him and stuff like that. So he grabs the leash, and when he reached down and grabbed the leash, my eyewitness said his Doug stares at this creature again. He said, but this time, he just urinated. He said he don't know if he had to go to the bathroom or if it was just that scared. But my eyewitness said his Doug just urinated. So my eyewitness said he grabs the string. Come on, boy, let's go. Come on, let's go. So they walks over towards the car. When they get to the car, he opens up, put him in there. My eyewitness turn and he stand and he looks over. He looks over at this massive creature. Because now it's at the beginning of the wood line, looking right at him. So he said he jumps in his car, looks over at him. But when he looks over at him, he said that creature was gone. My witness said, where it go at? All I did was just open my car door and got in it. He said, but that creature was gone. So he drove off. He went home. He said he didn't tell nobody about what he saw that day until now. I'm grateful he gave me the encounter. I just love everybody who share their experiences with me and let me narrate it. But we're going to keep it going. So, without further ado, let's jump right into this encounter. And this encounter right here, it happened on my eyewitnesses property. And on that property, you know, they used to grow corn. And the stalks was already 8 to 9 feet. They said they was just tall. So eyewitness said he used to get up because they had a little bit of animals and stuff like that, but not a lot. He used to get up and he used to feed them. Then he would relax. He said one day he was in the house and his son had went out. He had went out, walked around. He used to go out there and play with the animals and stuff like that. He said while he was playing with these animals, he hear something moving inside the cornfield. So he looks over there. And when he looks over there, he could see the stalks, the corn, just moving. Just moving. So he walks over towards the cornfield. And as he's walking, he still can see these stalks moving. So he walks a little faster. When he walks a little faster, he said he was probably 2 rows behind this thing as it was walking. He said that's when it stopped. And he said, what the? So he walks. And he walks over and he peeks down that row of corn. And when he peeks down there, he see this huge thing, excuse me, on all fours, just standing there inside the cornfield. But he don't know what it is yet. So he turns and he walks back towards the house. But as he walking back towards the house, he still would look back. And when he would look back, he would see the corn starting to move again. He makes it to the house. He goes in. He gets his father. His father comes out. He comes out with his gun. He walks over there. He shows him where he saw it at. So his father looked. He said, I don't see nothing. So his father begins to walk through the rows of corn. So he would walk and then he would stop. He said he did that 3 times. He would walk and stop. He said the 3rd time when he stopped, that's when he heard something walking inside of that cornfield other than him. So he's still standing there, listening to this thing walk. He said that's when he began to walk again. And as he's walking, he stops again. This time, when he stopped, he bends down. And when he bends down, he looks through the rows of corn. He said when he looks through the rows of corn, that's when he see a set of legs. A set of dog legs. Bent back legs with the hocks. Just standing there. Not even moving. So my eyewitness got up real slow, turned, and he walked it real light out of the cornfield. And when he get out, he turns and he looks. And when he turns and looks, he noticed the corn still moving, coming in his direction. So my eyewitness backed up even further. When it backed up further, he see this thing just break the beginning of that cornfield. He said this thing was just massive. It was just standing there at the beginning of this cornfield, looking at him. That's when my son said, Daddy, shoot it. He said, hell, I'm not shooting that thing. Look at the size of it. I don't know if these bullets gonna do anything to that thing. That thing probably can kill both of us. So the son was getting mad because he wouldn't shoot it. So he said after about a minute, that creature turned and it walked back inside the cornfield. Now this where it starts to turn and gets real bad. And my eyewitness said about 3 weeks would pass. And my son is outside. And he said while he's outside, he's just sitting, looking over in that cornfield. So he got up, walked around, went, played with the animals, walked back over and sat down. When he sat down, a few minutes will go past. That's when he hear something walking again inside of this cornfield. He turns around, goes in, and he sneaks and get his father's gun. Comes back out, he sit down. And he looks. He looks at the tree line. And then he looks at the other tree line. And then he looked at the cornfield. Because he's trying to figure out, where's this thing coming from? Because he don't be seeing it come out of there. So he continued to watch that cornfield. He said that's when this creature made its presence. It came out of the cornfield and it stood, just watching him. That's when my eyewitness son aimed that gun and let off several shots. But all of them missed this creature. Then it turned and it ran through the cornfield. That's when the father ran and came outside. He said, what are you doing? Said, no, Daddy, I almost had that thing. He said, why would you do that? Why would you shoot? We don't know what that thing is. He was so mad at him. Told him go in the house. Because he was punished. So my witness said a few days would pass. So they all in the house. Just ate dinner. And my eyewitness son decided to go in his room and just lay down. So he do that. He said he in his room and he falls asleep. He said, but something woke him. He said something woke him about 1 a.m. He hear tat tat, tat tat, tat tat. He hear taps on his window. So he sit up and he looks. He looks over. And when he looks over, he see this dark silhouette of this creature with these bright yellow eyes just glowing, looking right at him. So he slides to the end of the bed and he sat there and he watched. He said that's when this creature did it again. Tat tat, tat tat, tat tat. And when it did it that time, it made a growl afterwards. so powerful that it shook my eyewitness's son to the core. He said it wasn't at the window that long, about 2 minutes at the most. Then it turned and it walked off. My witness son gets up, he goes out. He opens the back door and he goes out there. When he goes out back, he looked to his left. And when he looked to his left, he see this creature standing there, looking right at him in his direction. So my eyewitness son was saying, what, this thing knew I was coming out? And he was confused about that. So it started to growl again. That's when my eyewitness son went in the house. He went in the house, went in his room, he closed the curtain, made sure the windows was locked, and he went to sleep. 3 days would pass with, no interference, nothing happening. He said on the fourth day is when all of us was outside. Me, my wife, and my son, and my son's dog. We outside just sitting out there because we was cooking out. You know, burgers, hot dogs, and stuff like that. So you can, the smell is just, smelled it so good. So as they sitting there, and my mother and father is talking, my witness son said that he grabs his dog and they walking. They just walking around, walking around. So as they's walking around, he walks over by the cornfield. And when he gets over there by the cornfield, his dog stopped. It stopped. His tail went between his legs. Now he knew that his little dog was scared of something. So he picks it up, takes it over there, give it to his mother. So he walks back and he stands and he looks inside the cornfield. He said that's when he heard movement to his left, and then he could hear movement to his right. He see the stalks moving on both sides. That's when he backs up again. He go over there and tell his father. He say, Daddy, I think it's two of them over there. So he stopped what he doing and he walks over there and he looks. And he could see these stalks moving in two separate places. So he goes in and he get his gun. He get his gun, he comes back out, he walk backs over there to this cornfield. And then he looks. As he's looking, he noticed that the one on the right is almost to the beginning of the cornfield. So he's watching. That's when this creature walked on the outside of that cornfield and stood. Now, mind you, my witness said he wasn't that close to this thing. At least about 40 feet away. It comes out and it stands there. That's when the wife looks over there and she sees this thing. And she said, oh my, what the? And she said, called his name out. What is that? What is that? Said, baby, please be quiet. So my eyewitness said, he aims his gun. He aims it. But this creature don't move. It don't flinch. It don't do none of that. Bow, bow. He let off 2 rounds. He knew he hit this creature at least once. Near the chest and shoulder area. Because he seen that part flinch. His left chest and shoulder area, he seen that part flinch. So he knew he hit him once. That's when this creature let out a horrific sound that I never heard before. That's when the other one broke the tree line. It began to growl. Now, mind you, the one that got shot, it turns and walks back in. That's when my eyewitness said he went to turn around and aim it at the other one, but it was gone. It had already walked back inside of the tree line. So he went back and he told his wife, said, I don't want you outside by yourself or nothing like that because I shot one of those things and I don't know what it's going to do or what's going to happen. So they finished, outside cooking out and stuff like that. They went in. My witness said 2 weeks passed and he goes out. And when he goes out, he sees some of his chickens just tore apart. Feathers everywhere. They just all over the place. My witness said he had to kill at least 10. These feathers and stuff, they all over the place. So my witness said, okay, now I guess he coming, to get his revenge. And start by killing little bit of animals that I do have. So he goes out there, he cleans up the mess and all that. He fixed the chicken pen and put, extra locks on there. But he was saying to himself, this ain't gonna hold this thing out. It's not. This thing is too big, too massive. And I know this thing weigh about 500-600 pounds because it's just huge. So after he, cleaned all that stuff up, he told his wife, he said, I don't know what we're going to do because after I shot this thing, like I said, it's coming and it's killing our chickens and we don't know what it's going to kill and eat next. So they finished talking. My eyewitness said that he would have company one Friday. Said he had company over. And they came over and played cards. So after they finished playing cards, they goes out back. They goes out back, and they, stand around and they talk. My eyewitness told him, just stay right here, don't go too far. So his friend was like, well, "What do you mean don't go too far? I'm not no kid." He said, "But you know what I mean." He said, "I'm just going to the bathroom." So that's what, he did. He went in to go use the bathroom. He said his friend didn't listen. He said his friend walked down and was walking around, walking around the property. And he walked over, to the chicken pen. Then he looked over at the cornfield. He said, as he was about to walk back over to the house, he sees something duck down inside of that cornfield. And he said to himself, what the? So he walks in that direction, right to where he seen that thing duck down at. So he walks. He gets over there. He walks inside of the cornfield. Don't know why he made this mistake. He was saying that to himself. So he walks inside the cornfield and he stops and he looks. And when he looks, he see something parting the corn stalks. He see a snout come through first. Then he see a massive German Shepherd head. He said his head was just massive. It was just huge. He said he turned and he hauled tail. Once he saw that, he ran. He ran back towards the house. That's when my eyewitness was coming out. He said, he said, what's wrong? What's wrong? He said, man, you got something over there in that cornfield. I don't know what it is. He said, but don't go over there. You need to call somebody because I don't know what that thing is. He said, that's why I told you Don't wander off. Don't go nowhere. He said, and I see why now. So his friend wind up leaving, and my witness said he finally did call somebody to come out and take a look. Now, that was that encounter. Hope you like it. I'm getting ready to upload this now. We're at 1 hour and 15 minutes. And I'll see you on the next True Dugman Encounters. Let's get it.